Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Rabbi Isai, we're holding Daf Nun Vav and base 4 lines from the bottom. Omar Rebbe Yami. Hiniach Sa'or al Gabi Isa v'holach v'yoshav lo v'nischam tzomei eleh. There's a sugya of starting an act. When you start something, does the whole Maisa, what's the word I'm looking for? Do we consider the Maisa? Do we give you credit for the Maisa? What's the word? No. You put the starter, the leavening agent, on top of the dough, and then it became chametz. You didn't mix, you didn't do anything. Chayav aleh. That's considered chametz. These are the psukim that we said you have to be careful with the mincha not to make chametz. Kemaisa Shabbos, we see something very similar when it comes to Shabbos. Shabbos, you put a steak on a grill and you walk away, you're chayav. So too over here, you put the leavening agent in the flour and you walk away, you're chayav. Ask the Gemara, let's see if this is true. Umaisa Shabbos, kigavni mi chayav. Are you actually chayav when it comes to Shabbos when you just put it on the grill and walk away? V'omar Rabba bar Bechano, Omar Rabbi Yochanan, hiniach basar al gabi g'cholim. If you put a steak on top of a grill, hibach boy chayav. If you flip it over, you're chayav. Loi hibach boy potter. And if you didn't flip it over, you're potter. So you see that you have to take more action. It's not enough just to put it on there once and walk away. And now we're sugya, when you put the leavening agent, l'chayra, it's not enough. When it comes to Shabbos, you have to flip it over. But when it comes to, because that's, in other words, it's enough just to put it on for that half. You don't have to sit there and stoke the coals, I don't know what. You put it on, you chai for that half. Yes, you have to flip it over because that's how you make a steak. Otherwise, the other side is going to be raw. But when it comes to the leavening, all you need to do is put it in once and walk away and you're chayiv. It's the same idea. By a steak, you put it on once and you walk away, you're chayiv for that half, and then you flip it for the other half. You have to have both halves in order for it to happen. But that's just the way the steak works. It's 1-to-1. The only way a steak, as we're going to see soon, if you do one half of a steak, it's not edible. It's not something that people eat. You don't eat. Have you ever eaten from the top of a steak that's well done on this side but not on the other side? It doesn't work like that. That's not the way you do it. Yes, it's not. You want to call it bishul. It's not how you eat a steak. Steak is on both sides. But when it comes to leavening, it's enough just to put it in and walk away, and it'll make it chametz. Gufa. We just said, and we're repeating, if you put a steak on the coals, if you flip it, you're chayiv. And if you didn't, you're potter. But what's the case? If you can't eat, it's not edible. Pshit, of course, you're not chayiv. Nami have a bashal, but if maybe the pshat is even without flipping it, it's also edible. Just it's not as good. So why do you have to flip it? Why don't you chayiv without flipping it? There's a concept called Michael ben Drusai. Michael ben Drusai, he was a robber. His name was Drusai, and he would eat it raw. Very, very rare. Very rare. Rare to the point it was a third. I don't even know if that's what rare is today. 1/3 of the typical cook time. 1/3. Kemach ben Drusai. Now, this Macha ben Drusai, if the only way to do it is so you got 1/3 on one side, and if you flip it over, you get 1/3 on the other side. The call mitzad echad kemach ben Drusai lo klumu. Yes, there's a concept called kemach ben Drusai, but that's only if you do kemach ben Drusai on both sides. One side kemach ben Drusai is garnished. You can't literally searing it for a second. That's garnished. Omar Rava. V'im nitzla boy kigurgeres, not a kizayis. A kigurgeres. If you are able to roast 1 fig's worth, dried fig, mitzad echad, b'mokim echad, chayav, Rabbi Isai, v'im nitzla boy kigurgeres. If you have one fig's worth of nicely done, more than a kamacha ben drusai. Macha ben drusai is blue. This is already red. Yeah, rear. It's already the next level up, but it's the size of a fig. Even on one side, in one area, you're good. I don't understand. Take this fig and break it up into 2 or 3 areas. And Shalom Yisrael, why can't you have three spots? Here, 1, 2, 3, like this. 3 spots. Bosnan, and I'll prove it to you. There's a concept called tziruf. I could take 3 different areas and put them all, pretend they're all one place. Bosnan, hakuideach kol shu chayav. If you take a drill, take a small little drill bit, and you drill a little tiny hole, you're chayav. You're chayav on Shabbos for boina. You're building. Says Gemara Chidami, we have to understand what the case is. You drilled a tiny hole somewhere. Kol shu l'may chazi. You didn't accomplish anything with the small hole. Elalav b'shnayim shloshim mekayimos. The chazal tziruf. We're talking about. Sometimes, I don't know if you ever built anything, but it happened to me many times. You don't have the right drill bit, and you try to make like a larger hole. So let's say you try to poke something in a piece of concrete. I don't know what. So you make 1 hole, 2. You make a few holes, and then you pop it out. So you see that you can take one drill, one little hole. In other words, times 3 equals 1 giant hole that together is considered a hole. Yeah, it by itself, 1 small hole is nothing. Over here also, 1 little piece of a fig is not enough. But 3 pieces of fig in 3 different areas of the steak that are well done, or more than K'maychel ben B'Soi, it should be starved to 1 fig. Says Gemara, there's only 1 small hole. And also, like, when you do construction, a lot of times you use a small little bit. Those little bits, they do things. The point is, sometimes you need a small bit, and that's why you're over. But you can't bring a riot to a fig's worth of well done meat. Rava holds that if you have a total of 1 fig's worth well done, even though it's spread out in 3 places, but the total amount is a fig's worth, that's also considered cooked. This is a freebie, mamish, 5 lines, a freebie, word for word. We also learned that if you drill a very small hole, you're chayiv on Shabbos, what's the case? If you did it 1 time only, what could it accomplish? It must be 1 or 2 places. This is the Gemara you only drilled 1 hole. We're not talking about tziruf over here. The chazal above that klida. This is for the door of the key. Givaldik. Nu sugya. Torah Rabbanon. Ilu nemar asher takrivu l'Hashem. So for this you must see this pasuk. It's very, very important. It says kol mincha asher takrivu l'Hashem. Any mincha. So the Gemara says, what if you would remove those 2 words? Kol mincha. Just start asher takrivu l'Hashem. Lo yisel chametz. So Gemara says, I learned 2 things. I have 2 words. I'm going to learn 2 limudim from these 2 words. There's a passage that says, don't make chametz. We already saw in the Mishnah and the Gemara also. The Gemara, when we were learning the Mishnah brings a pasuk. How do you know you're not allowed to make chametz? I explained over there. The Mishnah explained. It's talking about before by the Kmitza, and then the Gemara talks about after the Kmitza on the Shirayim. Now the Gemara is saying, I would think, how do I know if I combine the 2 things before the Kmitza? I have the Kmitza in there, I have the Shirayim in there. How do I know that it doesn't, that there's an Isser to make it Chametz? Mincha. So that 1 word we got, Mincha, the entire thing. Shar Menachos Minayin. This pasuk is talking about a Minchas Marcheshes. How do I know other Menachos? Kol Mincha, the word Kol, all Menachos. Asher takriv l'Hashem. What do I do with Asher takriv l'Hashem? Ksheira v'lei psula. This is also very interesting halacha. This Isser of making a mincha chametz is only when the mincha is kosher. Let's say you took it out of the Beis Hamikdash. Let's say the mincha is tamei. No Isser chametz. I just saw an interesting chap from the Brisker Rav that he says, what do you mean, Tomei? Tomei, any carbon that's Tomei is really not Tomei. If you put it on, the tzitz is Maratza. We learned that tzitz gets rid of the tumah. He says, yeah, it gets rid of the tumah when you put it on the mizbeach. But over here is before you put it on the mizbeach. Over here, you're over iser chometz when it's Tomei before you put it on the mizbeach. So it's like a chap. Yeah, there's a just to explain the kinds of tzitz miratz when you put it on the mizbeach. If you cannot do chametz to something that has a psul on it, if it went out of the Beis Hamikdash and it's puzzle, then you're not over on chametz. What about chimtza v'yatzos v'chazer chimtza mal? You created chametz. Now we learned yesterday. What does it mean? Just stam pasha pshat. What does it mean chametz and then you made it chametz? Could you make something chametz twice in a row? The answer is not really. If you make a different type of chametz, you do one of the four things. You mechametz by the lisha, by the aricha, by the ktifa, by the afiyah. You do another. So you did chametz. We did learn yesterday. That's exactly what we learned yesterday. That was yesterday's sugya. That works by mum after mum. There's a work here there. Okay, but there is no chametz. You yourself cannot make chametz twice in a row on this with the same action we learned. What if you did chametz and it went outside of the Beis Hamikdash? So now there's some sort of psul here, and now it comes back into the Beis Hamikdash. You told me that once it's possible, you can't make more chametz. So then, what's the question, B'chlal? Mao, given the yatzas possible b'yotzei, it already became possible. The simple understanding is once it went out, it's yaitza. So once it's over and it went out, it became possible. You can't add another. That's it. It's locked out from making a chametz. You just told me. Asher takriv el Hashem. It has to be something that's kosher or not possible. Once it went outside, it's possible. You can't add another chametz. But listen to this. You're not chayav for a double. That's it. You're locked out. You can't make more chametz. Listen to this, says Rashi. Once it's chametz, then it doesn't have the kedusha, lost a little bit of the kedusha to it. You can't make something pasul yotzei if it's not 100% kosher. The yotzei is not chal on it. And if the yotzei is not chal on it, then you could do chametz after chametz. What lacks out a second chametz? Something that makes it pasul. But it's not pasul. Why? Because it's already pasul from the chametz. Nachamal. Somebody took a mincha and made it chametz. What happened now? It's pasul a little bit. Once it's pasul, you can't make it pasul by taking it outside of the Beis Hamikdash. It's already pasul. I take it out of the Beis Hamikdash. What did I do? I took something that's pasul. I made it more pasul. So if I can't make it more pasul, now I can add another chametz to it. If I take if I take something that's totally kosher and I take it out of the Beis Hamikdash, I made it pasul yotzei. Pasul yotzei, I cannot make chametz to it. It's already pasul yotzei. But if yotzei doesn't apply to it, why doesn't it apply to it? Because it's a little bit chametz already. And if it's chametz already, I can't add another psul yotzei. So now I can add another chametz to it. Let's go backwards. We learned yesterday, it's in the Mishnah, you could add 4 chametzes to 1 mincha. By me kneading it, I was over on chametz. Then a minute later, I braid it. I'm over another chametz. Then I add water to it. I'm over another chametz. I could add chametz on top of a chametz. We just learned the halacha that if I take a mincha outside of the Beis Hamikdash, it becomes pasul because I took it out. Now I can't do chametz to it. It's done. It's pasul. It's garnished. It's treif, chazar, whatever you want to call it. It's garbage. Throw in the garbage. What do you making me chametz? I'm not over on chametz. Now, what happened was I made 1 chametz. Great. By making chametz, I made it a little bit pasul. A little bit pasul. A little bit pasul to the point where if I take it outside of the Beis Hamikdash, it's not. I can't put yaitz on it. I can't do pigel to it. I don't know what. I can't do anything to it because I made it a little pasul by making chametz. A mincha can't be chametz. So since the yaitz doesn't apply to it, I ignore. So now it's like a regular mincha that I could add another chametz to it, and then another chametz. I could add 4 times chametz to it, and therefore, v'chihodem chametz law. You want to see? We should really see Rashi inside. Where's Rashi inside? Where was it? It was on top. Oh, here. Oidilma kivin the chimtza loy mahanele b'psul yotzi. The lav gedusha gemurahi, says Rashi. It loses some of the kedusha. Ve'im ba'al psul chimutz. Then the only thing that you could put on it is one psul called chametz, and then v'chayv kishar v'chametz. Then you could add another chametz to it. But the psul of yotzi doesn't apply to it. And memela at the end of the day, teiku boy Rav Mari. Chimtza b'rosh Hashem mizbeach ma'u. If you took this mincha up the mizbeach, up the ramp, but you didn't put it onto the fire, you took it up, the kmitza of the mincha. Mao, are you locked out of making chametz? You made a chametz on top, but maybe it's already too late. You already mekayim what you had to be mekayim. You brought it up. Asher takrivu, it's even a lashon of to bring closer, and you did. Omar Achman of akriva. And you did so. But at the end of the day, you have to put it on the flame. You didn't put it on the fire. And since you didn't put it on the fire, you still have the ability to make a chametz and be over the Isser, teiku. Says Gemara, that what? Mikol HaMincha we learned before, that it's even before you did kmitza, you're over on chametz. Asher takriu Hashem, which is a step later, being makriv on the mizbeach, lamali, what do you need that for? Me'boyleg l'sanya. Asher takriv l'rabis minchas nesachim l'chimos. Di Rabbi Yosef Glili. Rabbi Akiva Omer l'rabis lechem aponim l'chimos. We have a machlokes here. There are two new items that are possible to make chametz. One of them is a minchas nesachim, which is a mincha that we bring together with the oila and shlamim. You bring flour, you bring wine together with the oila. And is there a chiyuv to make sure it doesn't become chametz? And Rabbi Akiva says, that's Rabbi Yosef Glili. Rabbi Akiva says, no, it's referring to the lechem aponim. That there's an isser to make lechem aponim, the 12 breads that we bring on every Shabbos, on the shulchan. There's an isser to make them chametz, the same as we were learning up until now. This is on lechem aponim, which the Gemara is going to flip. The Gemara is going to say Rabbi Akiva doesn't say lechem aponim. Rabbi Akiva is the one that says minchas nesachim, and Rabbi Yosef Glili is the one that says lechem aponim. As the Gemara, minchas nesachim, what is minchas nesachim? There's no water. Minchas nesachim may perisate. It's a bunch of oil. There's a lot of oil. There's 3 lug of oil, and there's no need for water. Sometimes when you put a little oil, so if you ever take a lot of flour, put a little oil, it's impossible to knead it. But if there's a lot of oil, then you can knead it, and if you knead it, knead with a K, then you don't need water. You don't need to introduce water. And umei perisate machmitzim. Fruit juice doesn't create chametz. Now, don't take this literally. Tosfos points out in the beginning of the parak, he says over here, Pirashti, and he says over there that it just means it's not full chametz, but it's chametz nuksha. It's a inferior type of chametz. Okay, but I think the Sfardim actually hold that may perish what matzah shira, etc. Okay, fine. But the question is, what's the question? The question is, how could I, if lechem aponim doesn't even have water, how could I even make it chametz? There's no way to make it chametz. I'm using oil, and oil doesn't make it chametz. Or Shlakish, you're permitted to add water if you want to, and in that case that you add water, not only does it become chametz, some say it makes it worse chametz, like it's a stronger chametz because it's together with oil, and water is kosher. So that's the case. We're talking about he added a little bit more water. Ask the Gemara Kasha lechem aponim midas yovashi. This is for liquid. This is for liquid. This plastic one is for flour. So says the Gemara, I don't understand something. Lechem aponim midas yovashi. You're trying to measure an isaron with this. This, Rabbi Isai has 0 kedusha. This is not a kli sharis. This guy is the difference between liquid and solid. The solid, according to Rabbi Akiva, doesn't have kedusha at all. It's plastic. It's garnished. So what's the question? As you're making the lechem aponim, at what point are you making a chametz? By putting into this kli, it doesn't give it kedusha. So stam, you're making chametz at home. That's not a problem. There's no isn't deraisa. When does it become kadosh? On the table. When you put it on the table, it becomes kadosh. Kadosh. Here. At this point, when he puts it in, boom, it's already too late. You can't make chametz. You can't make a god bread. It can't be chametz. The always always cancel. So we have to do this, one of these famous things. So it's a little confusing because we're talking about the bottom. So let's start with the bottom. It's not confusing at all. I'm just saying that usually I go with the top. But my Menchi guys only work on the bottom. Rebbe Akiva says that this pasuk comes to Asher Takrivu comes to say that lechem aponim you can't make chametz. And basically it says minchas, it's coming to minchas nesachim. The problem is Rebbe Akiva holds, and we're going to stick with this. Rebbe Akiva holds that this kli doesn't become kaddish. If this kli doesn't become kaddish, how in the world could he say that lechem aponim you shouldn't make it chametz? There's no way to make lechem aponim chametz. It's only when you put it in. So in Mela I have to switch it around. That's why I'm switching it around. It's Rebbe Akiva that says that's minchas nesachim you shouldn't make chametz. And it works out beautifully. Because Rabbi Yossi Glili, we're going to show in a second, he holds, Yavish has Gdusha. This has Gdusha. This has Gdusha. If this has Gdusha, then I have to be careful with the lechem upon him not to make it chametz. Beipoch, Asher Takrivu, the rabbis lechem upon him lechimutz, the Rabbi Yossi Glili. Rabbi Akiva Omer, the rabbis minchas nesachim lechimutz. Okay, it's Rabbi Akiva holds, it's minchas nesachim. Now, Va'az Rabbi Yochanan Tamei, Domer Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yossi Haglili. Now, how do I know that Rabbi Yossi Haglili says that dry goods, the dry measuring cup for dry goods is kaddish? How do I know? Because Rabbi Yossi Haglili holds like one of the Talmidim, mitalmidei Rabbi Shmuel Amar Dover Echad. Rabbi Yossi Haglili and one of the Talmidim Rabbi Shmuel holds one, and Umanu Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Yossi Haglili are in the same. They're in quotes. They say the same thing. The what? The Sanya. Vayim shochem b'kadish oisam. You should be mekadesh the kelim. Moshe Rabbeinu takes the special shemen hamishcha, he smears it, and he makes with this shemen hamishcha, he makes the kelim kadesh. They become klisharis. What's the plastic, Rabbi Yisai? Yavish. This see-through thing is liquid. Okay, so we have 3 shitas here. It's very simple. It's 3 shitas. Here's the question. The way Yoshi did it is not 100% accurate, but it's hard to describe in a picture. The question is always, when a kli has Kedusha, let's say this kli has Kedusha. This for sure has Kedusha, right? The lach always, according to everybody, has Kedusha. The question is, where? Where is the Kedusha? Only in the inside or in the outside as well? L'may nafkimina. What if I pour water on the outside like this? Did the water now become Kaddish? It touched only the outside of my kli. How? Because I filled it up very high and it fell over the side. And it touched the side. Kaddish or not Kaddish? That's the machlokes here. So we have one shita so far that says that this yavish is 0. We have a shita that the lach, the liquid, is going to be Kaddish on the inside and the outside. And then we have in between shitas. Or shita. Let's see. Midas halach nimshach bein mibifnim, bein mibachutz. According, this is Rabbi Yoshia, and this is Rabbi Yossi Haglili. Rabbi Yoshia says that this guy right over here is Kaddish inside and out. So I don't know how to do that. I'm going to put a sticker inside and outside. I don't know if this is going to work. Okay, like this. Both. That's Rabbi Yossi Haglili. That's Rabbi Yoshia. Midas yavish nimshach mibifnim ve'ein nimshach mibachutz. He holds there's only one gedusha over here. On this guy, 1, but outside is nothing. Only 1. And now you have a second shita that holds that this is a liquid, only 1. And this guy is all by himself. According to Rabbi Yonason, the only kedusha is inside the liquid kli, 0 in the dry kli. This shita says there's inside the dry kli, and he's the most machmer. It has, and the liquid kli has both inside and outside. So Mela, Rabbi Yonason, if we go back to this, Rabbi Yossi Haglili holds like Rabbi Yoshia. That what? That the yavish has some kedusha. Look, it has kedusha inside the kli. According to I'll show it this way. Okay. By the two breads, we're going to come back to this also. The 2 breads of Moshe. You have to bake the breads. When does it become Kaddish? Bikurim Lashem. After Teofena, once you bake it, then Bikurim Hashem. Putting it in a vessel, in a measuring cup, doesn't give it any Kedusha. So what's the Machloikis? Ba'oisam, the word oisam. Rabbi Yoshe Sava oisam lemute midas yavish b'chutz. It's mashma only in the inside, but that the dry one doesn't have any Kedusha on the outside. That's why there's only one sticker here. There is Kedusha on the inside. Rabbi Yoshe Sava midas yavish chalu. This is, look at this. This is a piece of plastic, has zero Kedusha, not in the inside and not in the outside. And you don't need to talk about it at all. It's a vachadike kli. It's a garnished. The only pasuk I need is some that the liquid kli only has a kedusha on the inside, but not on the outside. Oh, so if we look over here, this is a very rudimentary thing. But on the top it says Rabbi Yosef Agli, Rabbi Yosef say the same halacha. That what Yavesh has kedusha on the inside. And that's what we said. That's why lechem apanim that you measure with this dry kli does have kedusha, and you have to be careful not to make it chametz. And when it comes to liquid, it has kedusha on the inside and the outside. So what does Rabbi Kiva say? Rabbi Kiva says we saw before. That's why Rabbi Kiva can't say that it's lechem apanim you have to be careful with, because this has zero kedusha. But Rabbi Kiva says something else. This has zero kedusha, but the lach has kedusha inside and outside. Two. So we have a third shita. This is different than this shita, because over here the yavish has little kedusha, and over here the yavish, according to Rabbi Kiva, has zero kedusha. It has kedusha inside and outside, two stickers, and zero kedusha on this. So Meila says the Gemara, Lema Rabbi Kiva ve'echad mitamid Rabbi Shmuel, Amr dover echad u'man Rabbi Yonasan. We spoke about Rabbi Yonasan. Rabbi Yonasan is this shita right over here. But look, they're very similar because the Yavish, they both hold zero Kedusha on the Yavish. So maybe they're saying the same thing. So what's the answer? It's obvious the answer. Over here, they're very different. In the liquid, they're different. According to Rabbi Kiva, in the liquid Kli, there's Kedusha on the inside and the outside. And according to Rabbi Yonasan, there's only Kedusha on the inside. Ask the Gemara, Leiman Nami, Rabbi Kiva, Vechon Talmidei Rabbi Shmuel, Omer Dova Echad, Uman Rabbi Yonasan? Says Gemara, the answer is they're not saying the same thing because they're very different when it comes to the liquid kli. One says there's only kedusha on the inside, and Rabbi Kiva says the kedusha on the inside and the outside. The starting point. Do you say this is nothing? Should be nothing. There's no even havamina that has kedusha, and we may have the word isam to add to take off something else. Or no, this does have kedusha, and I have to remove here. He holds this has kedusha. Just the word isam comes to tell me that there's no kedusha on the outside. But therefore, lach for sure has inside and outside. Says Gemara, we forgot something. How do you mix this? How do you mix the lechem apanim? Look at this. You mix it in a mixing bowl. That mixing bowl is a klisharis. The lechem apanim, you have to mix it somewhere. And if you mix it in a bisa, in a bowl, that bowl has tremendous kedusha. And therefore you have to be careful not to make it chametz. Even according to Rabbi Kiva. Okay, Rabbi Kiva says, you see this? No kedusha when you measure it. Yeah, but what do you do after you measure it? You have to put it into a mixing bowl. And that mixing bowl has kedusha. Says the Gemara, the lachu, and it's considered a liquid kli. V'ikabisa the lachu, it's a liquid, and that has kedusha. It's klisharis. No, look at the right side. He did the lisha, you're right. If he did it in the left side and a bowl, it would have kedusha. You have to be careful not to make it chametz. Talking about that he put it on a piece of leather or something. A second ago we learned that Rabbi Yonasan says, I'll prove it to you from the two breads of Shavuos. There's no kedusha. You know why over there was no kedusha? Because he used a weekday kli, something that doesn't have kedusha. But maybe there is kedusha. Okay, Ashta says the Gemara. Over here, by lechem apanim, we could be doichik and say, oh, he did the leash on a piece of leather, not in a klisharis. Why? The Torah never said, I want you to knead it in a klisharis. You decided to do that. But there's no isser to do it on a piece of leather. But when it comes to the shtei alechem, when the Torah says mefurish, v'yisarin sarlas, well, that means use a measuring cup. And measure it inside this isarin. Shavik Yisrael the Kodesh, Kalabi Yisrael the Chol. You can't answer. Oh, maybe you used a vachadika thing like a piece of leather. The Torah says before to use the Kodesh. Ememela Rabboisai. Have a wonderful day.
Merit the schus of spreading Torah throughout the world. Sponsor a shir today. MDYsponsor.com or sponsor at MDY.com.